We started just now.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Editing. The magic of editing.
We got 3 boots because you got to turn the.
Right, but we don't have to have 3 boots. We can have 2.
Okay.
So yeah.
Where's your bus? Where's your book?
Right here.
Oh, you have it on. Oh, you got fancy, did you?
I did get fancy. I had to see my face though.
Okay, I see. Cool.
So we don't. Okay. So let us talk about what we're about to do and how freaking hard this is.
Now this is just writers, correct?
No, we did writers and artists.
Oh, come on.
You didn't do artists?
No, I did writers only because we're doing artists next week.
Well, then I've already got a head start on next week.
Good.
No big deal.
Good. You got it for next week then.
Okay, fine.
Because it took me a lot to do these 10 writers. I told you it took me a lot to do 10 writers.
I thought this was going to be a half-hour thing.
I don't think you understood how long this was going to take me.
No, I did.
No, I don't think you understood.
Completely triggered you on this. All right, let's just boot in because this is going to be too much fun.
Man.
Hi, guys, and welcome to a very, very special episode of the Printed Panel Podcast. Now, the last time I said that, we had Joe Pruitt, Cullen Bunn, and Phil Hester hanging out with us. I'm sorry, it's not that special and we're not that cool. What we're doing today, Garin and I are going to be discussing our top 10. He made 20, which it's tormenting him. 19. You're not doing all 19. I do not allow it.
I didn't say I was doing 19.
So
but I'm gonna put on the
we're talking about our top 10 favorite all-time writers. Now, we did have some rules. Everybody has to be alive.
Of course, that should be.
I mean, I think we both would have thwn.
I did take
Stanley on there, but
I took Jack Kirby off.
Yeah. So going into this, understand we had the rule that they had to be alive, and originally the plan was to tease each other and say what we thought the list would be first, and I came up with such a hackneyed list from Garin that if it was right, I would make fun of him forever.
How's it hackneyed? I mean,
because I was going to go Alan Moore, Frank Miller. I was going to go basically the greats. Chris Claremont. It's an honorable mention. Anyway, so we decided not to do it. We're going to actually try to talk about our 10 favorites. Now, I have one honorable mention, and I think having an honorable mention.
I have
fair,
9,
which means you just couldn't make a top 10 list. That means you just
writers.
couldn't.
I mean, they're
mine are not in any particular order.
Mine are in order. That's the thing.
Holy cow.
I have a specific order in which, and here's the thing. So this is the dream team. This is the dream. Like if I had a company to start, this is what I would want as my writers and my company.
Okay, so we went about this totally differently.
And that's okay. That was the point.
That's the fun of it.
It's supposed to be independent.
Let me explain to you how I went about this, because you're going to love my science.
Because you said scientific. Well,
I went about this.
You go by the gut. You go by the...
No, I went about this scientifically. Who has sold me the most comics in recent history?
Sure. I mean...
With the exception of my honorable mention.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I treated it very much like my top 10 favorite characters list. If this writer is in a book, no matter what they're writing, will I pick it up? So I built an Excel file.
Oh God.
Now you notice I'm in Word here. I'm not in Excel, but I built an Excel file.
I mean,
and what I did was I sat down with all my 8 short boxes of recent purchases, and so that's just stuff that is currently active, currently being printed, still ongoing, and I started polling how many titles each writer wrote. And what I came out with, if I put them in order, they would be 10 to 1.
Sure.
And the funny thing is, then I had to modify the list and take some of the science out of it. So scientifically, Josh Williams' son would be on here.
Yeah.
Scientifically, Venditti would be on here. Scientifically, Tomasi and Tynan would be on here. Charles Soule.
Tynan Better Damn will be on that list.
Greg Pak.
What? How is Tynan on your list?
Because my list is top 10 with 1 honorable mention.
Okay.
He would be another honorable mention whose work I love.
All right, so, and what we did agree to, though, is when we talk about your top 10, you have to explain why.
Yeah.
You have to give us. It doesn't have to be like a
So-
whole list of reasons.
so
but it's gotta be why.
Scientifically, and I kept that data. I still have the Excel file, and
I got you.
if people would like to see that, I totally
Sure.
can make that available. And it was really interesting to see following the characters, which is typically how I buy comics.
Sure.
Produced a really weird result on what I would say my favorite writers are.
See, for me, it wasn't.
But
so
I'm not
much-
going to have Alan Moore because there are no freaking Alan Moore books.
There's no current Alan Moore books. This is right.
I'm not going to have Mike Mignola
because you're not a big Hellboy fan.
because I don't have anything I'm reading by Mike Mignola.
Sure.
So
you're
he's gonna have the more tenured, more traditional comic book list. I'm gonna have the new guys,
But I have new guys too.
with the exception of one and my honorable mention that I realized I couldn't realistically.
I have new guys on here
together.
too. Let's just be clear.
So let's start with number 10.
Okay, my number 10 is Alan Moore. So shut up. But let's be honest.
Why?
But Alan Moore, Swamp
Wizard.
Thing, V for Vendetta.
Which
He's
is
given
horrible.
us Watchmen. He's given League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Trash.
So see now, but it's trash to you, but it's high art to me. That's the point. This is why Alan Moore. All of those books, I love all of those books. They're all phenomenal. He also gave us one very important, The Killing Joke.
I give him that one.
So he gave us a fantastic run of Green Lantern. I mean, he is literally one of the best writers who is alive today. Now, does he do anything anymore? No, because he got so angry at DC because of the things he did wrong.
He's
with it.
defending the Earth against beings from the fifth dimension, using the
There's that
power
too.
of magic.
So that's my number 10. What is your
Him
number
and
10? there,
Constantine.
Smarty Pants. What's your number 10?
Jason Aaron.
Okay, fantastic. You know, he hasn't done anything special recently though.
Oh no, nothing at all. Writing the current,
I didn't say that. I'm
current
sorry.
Avengers
I'm sorry.
run.
Thor.
He wrote
Southern Baptist.
what I would have said would have been the definitive Thor until Donny Cates got a hold of it.
Man, Donny Cates.
Still, 5 years of amazing Thor stories.
But he did
Sea
Doctor
of
Strange.
Stars.
He did Star Wars. I mean,
Are you talking about Donny Cates?
I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, Jason
Jason Aaron, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Southern Bastards alone is one of my favorite all-time non-superhero books because it's so brutal but so fantastic at the same time. So, yeah, I mean, yes, Jason Aaron absolutely should be on that list.
What's your number 9, buddy?
James Tynion the fourth.
I have no bad thing to say about Jason.
You can't
Aaron.
because he's awesome.
He though, like Sean Murphy, has a very Batman-heavy resume.
Sure.
I actually looked him up on Wikipedia because it was hard for me to leave him off my list, and I think I did.
You did.
I did.
Shame on you.
Yeah. No, I feel a little bad about it, but he does write. Oh God, such a good Batman.
I mean, but Something is Killing the Children. That's. If he had just been Batman, I may have left him off the list. But Something is Killing the Children is a pretty amazing book too. He is actually a great writer.
You know what we didn't do? We didn't unplug the cooler, so we have all the. Your wife's gonna.
Oh yeah,
be
she's gonna get mad.
at you.
All right, so so Tynion,
so-
he's my number 9.
I like your number 9. I put Sean Murphy at number 9.
Oh, absolutely.
Now,
I get nothing bad to say about him at all. He's amazing.
The only thing I've read from Sean Murphy though is the Batverse. I did back his most recent project. A little plug for Sean Murphy.
Indiegogo.
Go to Indiegogo, and it's Plot Holes.
Plot holes, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really super excited to get this book. It's going to be next year before it comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you back at the right level, once PDFs are available, you get PDFs. But I think I didn't get the hardcover.
See, here's the thing.
I don't care for hardcovers. I was like, I want the trade.
But here's the thing. This is if it's backed well enough, it'll go into production from Image or Boom
Or
or
not.
somebody else. I can just that's the thing. That's what happened with Gail Simone's book, Leaving Megalopolis. That actually it went to Image because it was a Kickstarter, fully backed. They printed everything, and then Image was like, "Hey, you should put that over here."
Yeah.
Even though they wouldn't do it to begin with. So,
So what have you got for your number 8?
John Layman.
Layman?
Yes. Chew is one of my favorite books. It's, again,
I have
favorite.
no criticism for Layman.
I mean, none. He's amazing.
None at all.
Yeah, The Outer Darkness
I'm
is,
just
of course,
surprised.
phenomenal. He's a fantastic writer. Now, here's the thing. I mean, again, I have 9 others in replacement, or actually technically 10. But, I mean, the fact is I put John Layman on the list because right now, he is blowing up. He is on the trajectory. So, literally, I love what he's been doing.
Is Ludacris his?
Ludacris is not Tynan, it's Kieran Gillen.
Oh.
Yes. So Ludacris, that's a book that was coming out next week that I just wasn't interested in at all.
And we may come to regret it. I mean,
Your
job is to thumb through it and go, we should or shouldn't buy this.
I mean, the art alone looks just horrible. but we'll see. I mean, it does. It just doesn't.
This is about writing.
I know. It's about writing.
It's about writing. And Gillen is high on the list. He was one I've got a lot of books for.
Oh yeah.
My number 8's Donny Cates. So here's my win.
But there's no particular order for this, right?
Right.
It's just
for mine, there's no particular order.
Okay.
Because I don't think I could rank these guys. Now, the reason Donny Cates had to go on the list wasn't because I had a whole lot of books by him. He was one that was very unscientific. Redneck.
Doesn't matter. It's not. It's Donny Cates is.
Redneck, probably my favorite vampire comic of all time.
Yeah.
It beats Vampirella.
Did you read Reactor of his?
No.
Reactor is the other vampire book he did. That's the one he did for Vault. Only 3 comics of the 5 came out.
Right.
Before Vault just couldn't afford to print them anymore. Now Vault has come back up. I think they're going to reprint them. But he also did Interceptor. That's the other big book for him, which you definitely have to read because it's Donny Cates doing before Redneck. This was actually written before. So anyway.
God Country.
God.
Okay, so...
Oh, we found out we're getting God Country Part 2.
Are we really?
This summer. We're getting God Country Part 2.
So here's my word on Donny Cates. Donny Cates has written one of my 2 all-time favorite comic stories ever. I'll take it over that Alan Moore bullshit you threw out there. Any old day of the week, I take it before Jack Kirby. I take it before Stan Lee. God Country was a masterpiece. Not enough people have read it.
No.
I plug it all the time. It has a huge amount of heart.
It was clearly written for Clint Eastwood too. It was written for Clint Eastwood to play the role
of the old guy.
He actually said that at one point. He said, "Yeah, I would love for Clint Eastwood to do this." Clearly, he wrote it for Clint Eastwood. It's like Brian Hitch drew.
Have Clint Eastwood and his son in the movie. Oh my God, it'd be so good. But that book means more to me than just about anything else on my shelf. Sure. I have all the original issues. I have the hardcover.
Yeah.
I've really it's really one of those books. One of the things Elizabeth bought me. It's one of those things that I would probably keep 2 or 3 trades on hand and hand it to non-comic book fans.
This is the same guy that when I first met him, he's like, "Have you read Ready Player One?" As he's starting to hand me the book, I'm like, "I got it." He's like, "Okay, I'm good." Literally, he had a stack behind the counter of Ready Player Ones. He would just hand to people.
I literally bought 3 new copies of Ready Player One yesterday so I could continue. I've handed out 27 copies now, and I have 3 at the house.
Amazing book.
Amazing book, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It is a comic book that anybody can appreciate the story for.
I do wish he would write comic books. The writer.
Ernie Klein?
Ernie Klein.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he would be amazing. I mean, honestly, I mean that in all seriousness. He'd be one of those writers I would love to see him write comic books because he understands the concept so well.
Yeah.
So my number 7 is Mike Mignola. Honestly, he's never written anything bad I've ever said. And, of course, his art is amazing as well, but he is a fantastic writer. Of course, Hellboy, BPRD, but he's done so many other books. I mean, he's done so many vampire books, Amazing Screw on Head. Genuinely, he is one of my favorites. And he's that double threat, just like Sean Murphy is. He's that I can do writing and I can do art.
Phil Hester.
And I'm good, Phil Hester. And I'm good at both. Mm-hmm. So what do you do? You know, how does that work?
You just let him make comics and get out of his way.
Yeah, you literally just kind of say, do whatever you want.
I have probably read a handful of Mike Mignola stuff over the years, and I've never had a bad thing to say about it. I'm not a Hellboy fan, but I have a ton of respect for Mignola.
Hellboy's one you genuinely have to immerse yourself into and actually kind of understand that it's humorous, but yet kind of not humorous at the same time. So it's fun. What's your number 7?
Jerry Dugan.
Oh yes.
So
Jerry effing Dugan.
Jerry Dugan snuck up on me.
Oh yeah.
Jerry Dugan mugged me for love. He was like he was like creeping up and he was like, "Read my books." And that's actually not what happened. I was reading his books and didn't realize they were his books. I read
it's like Phil Hester.
It sneaks up. I read 8 issues of Analog before I paid any attention to who was writing it because I loved the premise. And then
amazing book.
Really I realized it was his when you pushed me into Dead Eyes.
Well, no, Dead Eyes.
Dead Eyes.
Dead Rabbit Eyes.
Dead Eyes. Stop it! You're gonna get him sued again. And then he also happens to write Marauders.
Oh my God! Insane amount of books for Marvel as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Savage Avengers.
Marauders and Savage Avengers, which are 2 of my favorite things running.
Yeah.
Jerry Dugan's amazing.
And we've talked about this multiple times. Just said Jerry Dugan? Oh, I'll buy that.
And Jerry Dugan may have been around for 20 years and I just didn't realize it.
Right.
But right now he is doing so much stuff that I really dig. Yeah. And I love everything that he's put out.
Met him a few years ago at Heroes Con. Super nice guy. Just like down to earth. So a lot of fun. So my number 6 is Mark Waid. Never have had a bad story, from Legion of Superheroes to Kingdom Come to current Doctor Strange.
You wrote Kingdom Come?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I mean, this guy,
If Alex Ross hadn't illustrated it, I would have loved that
his
book.
Daredevil series. I mean, technically, it's Alex Ross's book, but Mark Waid got to write it for him. So that's kind of how it worked. But I mean, honestly, one of the best writers that's alive today, hands down. There's very few people that can say that they've done as much as him. Cullen Bunn and Donny Cates maybe, and Jason Aaron, but that's a small group.
There's a whole host of things that Mark Waid has written in my current stuff. And every bit of it's good. And my favorite, believe it or not, is History of the Marvel Universe.
I mean, come on, man. He took all this fantastic history.
He wrote the definitive history.
Yeah, and he made it good. And I think we're going to get a part 2 of that too, of the history. I think they're talking about part 2.
So just more fill-in?
Yeah, more fill-in. So, what's your number 6?
I would have to say if I were going to put these in order, he probably would be my number 1. Mark Millar.
Oh.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and do the touching thing.
Huck. That's all we have to say.
Huck is that number 1 story.
How many books, how many of those have you given away?
Probably 10.
Yeah. So Huck is that.
And they're hard to get a hold of.
Yes, now, because I mean, they're not out of print yet. I think they're in their 3rd or 4th printing right now. So Huck is that touching superhero story where he's not a superhero, but he is. It is so well told, and
has some good twists.
We were both so disappointed when his secret book this year for Christmas
wasn't
Huck. Apparently he's still planning more Huck, just like he's still planning more Empress. So once Millar sold his oeuvre to Netflix, once he sold everything to Netflix except for Kick-Ass and Kingsman,
right,
and Wanted. Well, technically he could still do Wanted his way,
right.
Once that got sold, he then exploded with more product. Now, Sharky obviously was not that great, but
to be honest, I didn't care for Prodigy. I read the first 4 issues.
I loved Prodigy. I
loved Magic Order.
Yes.
Millar though gave us Old Man Logan.
Yes.
He gave us a great Fantastic Four run.
That's right.
He gave us Nemesis, which is probably my 3rd favorite.
It's the anti-Batman.
Yeah.
it's the.
He wrote a version. And it was supposed to be Evil Batman.
Yeah.
It was originally written for DC to turn Batman evil.
Yep.
Temporarily.
And they wouldn't do it.
Yep. And so he flipped the book into Nemesis.
But again, he's the same guy that wrote Kingsman, which is actually Secret Service. He wrote Empress. He wrote Starlight. He wrote Jupiter. I mean, you name a major title. And Mark Millar is somewhere behind it, so he is my number 5.
Also, I'm not sure that he's not actually Grant Morrison.
I think they're the same person. So,
I haven't seen Grant Morrison in anything since 2012. I maintain it's Millar's pen name. They're both Scottish. They're both.
And Mark Millar is my number 5. So, what's your number 5?
I'm not
even going to go out. I'm not going to go on.
No point going further. Rick Remender.
Yeah, Remender. Yeah.
Uncanny X-Force.
Of course.
Won me over.
What a great run.
7 to Eternity,
Mm-hmm.
A fantastic fantasy book. Fantasy is a hard thing to do fresh, and he did it well.
Tokyo Ghost,
oh. Death or Glory.
Death or Glory.
Although the dude with no penis kind of flipped me out and kind of turned me off to the book. Deadly Class,
yes. See, for me, the big thing with him, Uncanny X-Force was a big one, but Tokyo Ghost shocked me how good it was. And of course, who was the artist?
I have no idea.
Sean Murphy.
Well, that makes sense.
There you go. See, yeah, and Black Science as well. That's the other one that Sean Murphy did with him. Black Science is the other Remender book. Yeah. The thing I like about it too is when Remender does a book, he references other books in the art for everything he does. So there's a Black Science video game. There's a Black Science arcade game, a pinball machine in Tokyo Ghost, one of the panels. I mean, that's just who he
Little
is.
Easter eggs.
Yeah. Exactly, that's what he does. So, and Rick Remender, phenomenal writer. I completely, 100% agree with you.
So, what's your number 5?
My number 5 was Millar. You just did yours.
Yeah. Okay. So, you're number 4.
My number 4 is Scott Snyder. Yes.
Well, he's my number 2.
Of course. So, but let's talk a little bit about Scott Snyder. Let's just talk about American Vampire. Just American Vampire. Prolific 9-volume series. Phenomenal.
I found him at New 52 Batman. And he wrote one of the definitive Batman runs.
Court of Owls.
So we're gonna do an episode here in just a minute that covers the New 52, the end of the New 52 Batman. He put one of the most definitive answers to how a vanilla human is able to take the damage and the pain and all of that from dealing with these super beings and still come out of it and overcome and not just be dead.
So Scott Snyder,
and the answer is he is dead.
Dark Knight's Metal. Dark Knight's Death Metal. Last Night on Earth.
Witches.
I mean, and apparently we're going to get more witches at some point. We got Bad Egg, which was the mini real graphic novel he did, but we're going to get more witches at some point. He says he's going to come back to it.
And then his Justice League run.
AD, the After Death is another good run. Supposedly AD has been picked up for a movie or a TV show, and I think it's on Amazon. We're not definitively sure yet. So, yeah, Scott Snyder is he's definitely on the top of the list because honestly, he's one that genuinely I think if you're not there with him, you're really missing comic books.
And he's a little bit of a Johnny Come Lately compared to Alan Moore.
Sure.
But or Chris Claremont or some of those guys, but wow.
Yeah, but he's
what a pedigree for the stuff he has done.
But what's interesting too, he was a professor, right? Is Sarah Lawrence?
I have no idea.
Yeah, he was a professor, and one of the reasons that Tynion keeps taking over after Scott Snyder is because Tynion was one of his students. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So what's your number 3?
No, it'd be my number 4.
Your number 4,
John Hickman. Jonathan Hickman. So Hickman, obviously, by my scientific method, was going to have a heavy hand.
Sure.
Just finished up East and West. Yeah. Dropped Decorum.
Yeah.
So he's got his indie project that's going to be an absolute epic. He loves his splash pages. Or his info pages.
Yes.
And he wrote House of X, Powers of X. He's writing the main X-Men run. He
did Utopia.
He writes opposite Ed Brisson on New Mutants. Kind of they go back and forth. Ed Brisson should be on this list scientifically.
Iron Fist.
Yeah.
I mean, really, his Iron Fist is really very, I think, definitive.
But Hickman, has had such a heavy hand in shaping different parts of comic continuity.
And he's another one that I completely agree. I would buy pretty much anything he buys. He does. Seriously. Yeah. He's just phenomenal.
It's like John Hickman is doing Elektra. Cool. I'll be reading Elektra.
Yep. Oh, he's doing Ambush Bug? Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Impossible Man? No problem. We'll take that too. Just some ideas, John.
So you're number 3 then.
Cullen Bunn
was number 1 on my list.
I don't know how he couldn't be top of anyone's list. He's done anything for everybody. He is.
Harrow County alone makes him amazing.
Well, for me,
Dark Ark.
Dark Ark is the definitive for me, but
Knights Temporal.
His
Holy Grail.
His Venom run, his X-Men run, his Oni Press stuff, the Six Gun. I mean, come on, man. He's incredible. So Cullen Bunn will always be there, and I hope to God that we still see a Phil Hester, Cullen Bunn combo. Kind of fun. I want to see that. So
I really only have one left to talk about because Cullen Bunn's my number 1, Scott Snyder's my number 2, which just leaves my number 3, which I put on the list unscientifically. Chris Claremont.
Oh yeah, of course.
The reason I put Claremont on here is because Claremont and Jim Lee basically got me energized on comics in the 90s.
Sure.
His Wolverine, his X-Men. Yep. There's probably a whole bunch of stuff that Chris Claremont wrote that I'm like completely don't know that Chris Claremont wrote it. But
God Loves, Man Kills.
Yeah. But Claremont's X-Men defined X-Men for me, and they are the standard by which all X-Men will be judged.
Yep.
And one of the few writers who stood up to that was John Hickman.
Yep.
So I'm going to be a Claremont fan as long as there is a Claremont.
So he's 74?
Yeah.
Sure, I think. Yeah, he's getting up there. So my number 2, we already talked about Donny Cates. All right. My number 1 though, and this is a very special writer to me, and he wouldn't. I guarantee he's not even on your spectrum anywhere because there's nothing currently new he's doing. There's something new coming out.
I actually hate the guy.
So, again, just like Alan Moore, I'm not sure why you hate Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman.
Have you ever read American Gods?
Well, yeah, American Gods isn't my favorite, but his Sandman is incredible. 1602 is one of my favorite books of all time. There's the Curious Case. I mean, he's got so many.
I just want to give him a hug.
A Study in Emerald. This man.
I just want to give him a hug and make him a little more happy, but then he wouldn't be able to write anymore because he's Edgar Allan Poe of the modern age.
He is, and this is again when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about if I had a comic book company and I wanted the best, what would I do? This is my top 10.
Couldn't afford it.
No, there's no way I could afford it. But I mean, this would be like Bill Gates going, you know what? Sure, whatever money you need, I don't care. Just keep funding it, and we're good. So yeah, that's my top 10.
And it would be the saddest, darkest, crucifiest book.
1602 wasn't sad and dark. It was a great book. Did you actually read 1602? No,
1602 was dark as hell.
No, it wasn't that dark. Captain America wasn't that dark. Anyway, that's my top 10. Now,
Honorable mention.
I have several.
Nope, you get one. Pick one. So I have to give an honorable mention to my favorite superhero comic book of all time writer, Robert Kirkman, who gave me Invincible.
Sure.
And the reason I have to give that honorable mention, the only reason there is an honorable mention at all, I haven't read anything since then. I dropped Walking Dead. I hated the way it tied up. I didn't care anything else about it. Kirkman is not one that just because he's writing it, will I grab it? Die. Nope, no interest at all. Now, I'm really liking Firepower.
Yep.
I read the first 9 issues of whatever the one where the Oblivion song.
No, Oblivion song.
With the universe and the song and the noise. And, yeah. I read about 9 issues of that and went, God, this is terrible. And I read 12 issues of Outcast. But he, so far, Firepower's really good, but Invincible, beginning to end, was...
Firepower feels like Invincible.
No.
In a lot of ways, it very much does.
No.
To me, it did anyway. It felt like
No.
It felt like another superhero story we're gonna get.
Okay, so the problem, so the mentor and the main character felt like Invincible characters.
Yeah.
But every character in Invincible was its own standalone, amazing.
That's
was
Kirkman's
no
gift. That's what he does.
There was no throwaway character. There were no throwaway characters in The Walking Dead.
Yep.
There are throwaway characters in Firepower, and there's just people you're clearly here to fill a slot.
So, if I had to pick just one,
You get one.
just one. It'd be Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns.
Flashpoint. Flashpoint alone.
Well, Doomsday Clock.
The New 52.
The New 52. Yeah, Jeff Johns. There's so much he's done over the past 15, 20 years, and quite literally, you can't not include him. Yeah, of course, I'd love to include Kirkman, and he would be part of my list too. But this was, I don't know. Now here's the thing: Kirkman also did Amazing Spider-Man, and he did Marvel Team Up, and he did.
I've not read any of that. So,
and Marvel Zombies. I mean, just those were fantastic.
I hated that.
His team up was phenomenal because it was Spider-Man and so. But no, this was. Sure, I can't talk about the other ones.
Nope.
Because I got a bunch.
Nope.
Okay. So.
All right, guys. So here's the challenge.
And by the way, let's see. The only two I didn't get right for your list were Tynan and Tom King.
Fair enough.
Donny Cates.
You thought Tom King was going to be on the list?
Sure, why not? He's a great writer. I thought you were doing modern stuff. I thought
Top 10?
Sure.
Scientifically, he's not in my box at all.
Okay. So anyway.
All right, guys. So here's your challenge. We're going to start putting together, once we get the all clear and we can do, we're going to put together some little meet and greets, some little discussion groups. We're going to get together at least once a month, and we're going to have a little recorded session where we talk about these type of things. Top 10 list, your favorite books, what are you reading now that you love? We'll probably have a Batman night because Batman. And we want to hear your feedback. So what are your, don't cheat and look at my artist list.
I was trying to get your computer not to go off.
I can go off after this, we're done with it. So next week we're going to do our top 10 favorite artists. We want to hear you guys. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? Ben will probably agree with me trashing Alan Moore.
It's not a right or wrong thing.
No, it's definitely a right or wrong.
This is opinions. It's different. It's
No,
different.
It's right or wrong, and you're wrong.
So anyway,
why you can't build a top 10?
There's no way. There's no way to do 10
There was.
writers. There's no way to do 10 freaking artists either.
Yeah, there is, and I did that definitively. I actually had a hard time coming up with the last two.
All right. So anyway.
So
this was fun. We are, of course, still doing the contest on the Facebook page. Please go share with us your top 10 characters. That way you can actually win a variant cover, which I'm going to pull randomly. That way someone can get a really cool book. We've got lots of fun.
yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
I'm actually going to put an ending on this one. Hey, out there in YouTube Lab, thank you so much. We appreciate you watching. Smash the like button, subscribe, tell your friends. We really, really do appreciate it.